All right, guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Sport Vitamins. Today, for the first episode of season 2, we have not just one strength coach, but two strength coaches. We have Coach Felipe Eichenberger and Coach Claus Souza with the Denver Nuggets. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So thanks for taking the time and squeezing me into your busy schedule today. And let's start with a little bit of a rundown on your background.
I was born and raised in Brazil. Lived there for the majority of my life. When I was 21, I decided to move to Canada to pursue my bachelor's in exercise science, physical education. And then in Canada, I started personal training, and that was the first introduction to becoming a strength coach. Worked in the private sector for a while, and then realized that I had to move to the States for if I really want to pursue this career in sports. And then moved down to the US, got a grad assistantship, did the whole intern, all that stuff. Was a GA at the University of Tulsa, worked with all kinds of teams there, football included. And then ended up going into the WNBA and worked there, made my way to Auburn, Alabama to work with women's basketball for almost 4 years. And then finally came to the Nuggets about a year ago. So that's 12 years compressed into 45 seconds.
Not bad.
I was born and raised in Brazil too, but I wasn't Klaus' neighbor. But came to the United States, played basketball, fell in love with strength conditioning that went along with my degree of health and sports science, and just, start working in an internship. Met some people that led me to the Nuggets as the assistant for 8 years. Now I'm here. I'm with the team for 9 years now.
Guys, you both are from Brazil, so how is being an international strength conditioning coach in the NBA? Is it hard for you to get the buy-in? I mean, was it hard for you at the very beginning to get the buy-in of your players?
I mean, I don't think the culture. I think the culture helped us because we have so many international players and we know how to relate to them, from like what you eat to like a new country and what you do here. It doesn't matter if it's the NBA or any other level. But I think the national background and it does help. But I think that just the job is, I don't know, I mean, it's more like the experience that you have here, together with where I was born, where we were born, that helps the most, if that makes sense.
Of course. And how did you get the foot in the door?
So I started as an assistant. I met some players, some Nuggets players when I was doing an internship in Las Vegas. And then they got me, they gave me the strength coach number at the time, and I called him every day for 3 months. I was moving to Denver, got to Denver, and then started working at like a gym as a personal trainer. And then, his assistant left, and then, he offered me the job pretty much.
What about you, Klaus?
Well, of course, I met this dude about 5 years ago, and it's funny, this almost gets repetitive if you kind of follow us, but people think that we're working together because we're both from Brazil, but that's not the case. Like he had his path, I had my path, and it was completely different places where we work. But what I did was I became friends with one of the strength coaches for the Dallas Mavericks because I was living in Dallas for a while. And then I started helping him out in the weight room, kind of like a volunteer, just like popping in whenever my schedule allowed, and then just, showing face and helping out with whatever I could. And then he was like, hey man, if one day you want to get to the NBA or become a strength coach in the NBA, you should probably get to know some of these other NBA strength coaches. And then, so there's a conference in Chicago, the NBA Strength Coaches Conference, that you can come in, you're going to pay your own way, but at least you're going to, like, you know, shake hands and get to know some of the, I'll introduce you to some people. So the first time I went, when I got there, he was like, hey, there's a Brazilian strength coach too that works for the Nuggets. And I was like, oh, really? That's sweet. And that's when I met Felipe, you know. And then fast forward 5 years later, we kind of stayed in touch. You know, I was working at University of Auburn at the time, Auburn University, sorry. And it was one of those things where, I mean, you know, his assistant left. That was an opening. It was like, hey man, like, is this something you're interested? So I applied, went through the whole interview process against other candidates, and, you know, happy to be here now. So that's kind of how it happened for me.
Okay, interesting. Guys, I've been following you for a while, and I know that you have a background in martial arts, while you, as you mentioned, you have a background in basketball. And
does too, though. He's a secret ninja. No one knows.
Okay, I didn't know about that. All right, but is it important to have a background in basketball, or you can also have a great career and also bring some valuable information and some other stuff, you know, some new information if you don't have a background in basketball? For example, I don't have a background in basketball. I grew up being a baseball player, and I just ended up being a basketball strength coach 10 years ago. But before that, I was just playing baseball.
In Italy?
Yes, in Italy. We actually have a pretty decent league in Italy.
Oh, wow.
With a lot of former MLB players. Of course, they're old players that decide to move there for 1 or 2 years, but the league is pretty good, actually.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's cool. I mean, the basketball background definitely helps. You know, I think that it helps you understand the game and how to train the guys. But at the same time, I feel like a background on anything but basketball helps. I mean, you know, we talk about all the time, it's just how to get a buy-in with the guys. I mean, sometimes we think we're, you know, like psychologists for the guys versus strength coaches, you know. So it's like background in different sports and different things definitely help. You know, for example, like the guys were up one time with soccer, and soccer is big in Brazil. It was very interesting to see that, you know, the guys can have fun playing soccer, even though, I mean, they're not very good at it. But it was something that, if I wasn't from Brazil, I don't know if I was, I would play soccer with the guys. Like, you know what I mean? So, but it does help, but it's not everything, if that makes sense.
And like, for example, one of our guys loves martial arts, you know, so like him and I talk about that all the time. Actually, more than one, you know, even from boxing, kung fu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like we have a guy that likes each one of those, you know. So like that generates conversation, that generates like, what did you do in training, that generates like, just like Felipe said, like helps the buy-in and stuff.
Do you also implement some of the stuff that you do, jiu-jitsu and martial arts, into your training?
Jiu-jitsu, not so much, because it's grappling, so we'll probably restrain from that maybe in the off season, but it'll be different environment, of course. But like boxing and hit and miss, like that happens more often.
Okay, guys, let's talk to what's going on right now in the bubble. So how's it so far?
It's different, man. And we've been here for 2 months. It's been interesting. I mean, the days are very similar. We don't leave what we do. You know, and as a strength coach, you kind of expect to work every day because, you know, when the starters are resting, the younger players are getting better. So it's like we haven't had many days off. But it's been different. It's been, you know, I mean, they did a really good job on organizing, on making sure everything is the right, done the right way. But I mean, it's cool to see that's working, because before here we had so many questions, and everybody did, um, if it would work or not. And I mean, we've been here for 2 months now, and it is working. So um, that's a cool experience. I mean, that's history. Um, but it's I don't know how to really describe, but after day 60, it's like it's just a little bit long, but it is what it is.
Sure. You guys are doing something that nobody have ever done before. So before getting into the bubble, nobody was an expert about that, right? So how did you guys have adapted your method?
I mean, it's a lot of like planning for the unknown. So it's basically having a lot of contingency plans of like, hey, if this doesn't work, this is the backup. If that doesn't work, this is the backup. And just trying to keep things as simple as possible, because in this like environment, everything changes. We didn't know how the food was going to be. So like now we really like spending a lot of time coming up with a game plan for the training itself. But then if the guys are not eating, that like scratches everything, because they're feeling weak and they're in a bad mood, etc. Or if we have all the planning done for the training and then they're sleeping really poorly because the rooms are not how they expect it to be. So like, and then it's like practice all over the schedule, right? So it's like some days we practice earlier in the morning, some days we practice late in the evening. So it's like, it's almost like we cross that bridge once we get there, but at the same time is having a structural frame for the work of what we want to accomplish. And what we want to accomplish was, we got to make sure guys are eating properly, we got to make sure guys are resting properly, and we got to make sure guys are training, period. And then you start reverse engineering from there, and then starts to laying out a foundation of like, okay, we're going to lift whatever 2-3 times a week. We're going to do micro sessions before practice because that's the time we have. So it was very fluid, the whole thing, right? Like, and no, like, this is what we're going to do, this is the plan, because we knew everything was going to change. So hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of insight on how we were thinking about stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you guys working in a team setting right now?
In what regard?
Like in the weight room, for example?
I mean, the days are, now we play every other day. Now it's just about giving the guys rest and making the guys feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And so we play, and next day it's either like an optional shooting or film. So we've been doing this for, they want to like play every other day for like, I feel like 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks almost. Um, so that's the thing. I mean, we don't do like a team practice, so we don't have them in the weight room as a team. So we do have individual workouts, and a lot of guys lift before the game. Just because I mean the games are 9 p.m. here, so like we get back. I mean, you go to bed around 1:30 or 2. So it's just about more getting ready for the next game after that game is over, because you have not like a full day, just because you play so many like crazy times. But no, we don't have a team lift. If that just answer your question specific, but we do have individuals lifts with the guys.
It's been like this for the whole time in the bubble?
Not the whole time. We had the first weeks was training, no games, and then we start the scrimmages, and then we start the 8 game seeding games, and then we start the playoffs. And then when the playoffs started, we did play every other day, even with the seeding games. So not the whole time, but a good amount.
Got it. And I guess the level of stress for your players, but also the coaching staff, is really high over there, right? How do you keep track of it?
We don't keep a track of the stress. It's more like what our eyes are seeing, And then you do see a little fluctuation in mood of some players, like and it's also related to like winning and losing, or a player playing bad or playing good. So it's just kind of being sensitive to all that and understanding that, like, yeah, we are isolated. We're away from our families, wives, girlfriends, whatever. So it's just, as a coach, taking all that into account, and then to make sure, like, we manage the stress levels appropriately. But then again, like, we have a roof above our heads, like good food, like good rest. Like, I believe the schedule is well balanced in terms of like actual stuff that the guys need to attain to versus also how much time they have for themselves. They can, walk around and be in the room or whatever. So I think that's the best way to manage really the stress, and just being there for them and asking like, hey man, how you feeling today? How did you sleep? Like, just generating conversation like that. Not really like, here, fill out this questionnaire and let me know how you're feeling. Like, I'm not looking at that more than I'm looking at the conversation we're having with them.
Yeah, sure. Having a conversation with your athletes is very, very important. And I think also it builds trust between you guys and the rest of the team, right?
For sure.
Is there something that you were not doing in Denver before going to the bubble and you're doing now, and now you think that you will keep doing from now on?
That's a good question.
No, I think that, there are talks that we might have another bubble. There are talks that they don't know how the next season is going to be. So I think that strength conditioning wise, I mean, what we've done here, bring weights, bring stuff from home, that might be something that we have to do in the future. So now we know what to expect. I feel like we did a good job of bringing stuff, but not bringing too much. I think what we have here, we're really using it. I can look around what we have here. It's like every single thing we used a couple times with the guys. So it's like, I think this setup, if in the future we have a setup like this, we have an idea what we're gonna use the most, and something that we might don't need. So I think that's the only difference, not having, they made 7 weight rooms around the courts. So we have 7 training facilities, and they're really like legit training facilities, like, like equipment. It's unbelievable, great equipment. So we train the guys there more than what we have here, because we have a room with our own weights, our own machines for the guys to train in the hotel. But when we go to the arena, we have a full weight room to train the guys. So if it's like this, if we have another bubble, for example, we know how to not waste it, not to bring extra stuff. So.
Okay, got it. Actually, there is one thing that you were not doing before and you're going to do now, the podcast, right? You started your own podcast there in the bubble. You want to talk about it a little bit?
The idea was before that. And we were just like, the first episode we actually recorded, we were still in Denver.
Yeah.
It's just we released the podcast while we were here, because we just kind of saw it fit, and it was a little bit like, it took me some time and Felipe to figure out logistics of things and like really what we wanted to do with it. But we were talking about that for how long,
Yeah.
Like, we were like, even during the season before the whole COVID stuff, we were like, hey man, maybe we could do podcasts with other strength coaches and stuff. And so that's kind of like, and then of course it helped that we're here, and in our hotel, most of the strength coaches you've seen on the episodes so far are all staying in the same hotel. So it makes it easier, to schedule a time to sit down and talk. So.
No, that's awesome. Keep up the good work, guys. Let's switch gears. Let's leave the bubble. Let's go back to Denver. I want to talk a little bit about your philosophy. What's your philosophy in the weight room?
We push for consistency. We push for simplicity is consistency. We make sure the guys understand it's like, as long as you come in, We will explain you the science. We will make sure that you understand what you're doing. But the most important thing is come in, make sure you're focused, lift with intent, and be consistent. Like you're gonna give me, don't come in and like don't be ready for it. Like the lifts are gonna be short, but they're gonna be consistent. So and besides that, it's just simplicity, right? So it's like there's a push, pull, hinge, and we use all those movements to get the guys better. And it depends on. I mean, this year was so crazy, but like depends on each individual guy. We have a goal for them. It's kind of very interesting with periodization, right? Because you can change periodization for each guy, but from what happened, I know I'm going all over the place here, but it was very interesting to see like we had a master plan for each guy, and then COVID happened, and then it's like, oh shoot, we have no equipment, but we still need the guys to get better. How to do that in 3 months? I mean, 3 months was a good amount of time where players can get better or not. And then, they have to come back, and then they have to practice, they have to play, they have to get better here. So, to answer your question, simplicity and consistency, that would be kind of the easiest things, like to explain your program. Yeah.
And both of you guys have the same philosophy. How important it is to be always on the same page, or you also want to have some, let's say, argument with the other strength coaches of your organization in order to be better, to get better, to improve as a strength coach.
It's important, but then it's also understand like your role. You know what I'm saying? Like my title is assistant strength coach, so I will assist. Like we have a great relationship where we talk about every facet of the program. He doesn't hide anything from me in terms of like, no, I'm the head guy, I'll deal with this. It's more like we talk about it, and then I'll be like, if he asks, I'll be like, this is my opinion. And then it's like, how can I assist you? You know what I'm saying? And
Sure.
if I see like something that he believes in, it might not be exactly what I believe in, I still going to assist and make sure that I understand where he's coming from, because that's my job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's about constructing something together, but not forgetting what your role really is. So if he has a plan for the day, I will do everything I can to make sure the plan is executed the way that it should be executed,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, cool. So, Felipe, you mentioned this before. How do you guys feel about lifting on game days? Personally, I love it. I have a group of 5 or 6 players that lift on game days on a regular basis. Usually, I leave it optional, of course. I don't want to have a mandatory with lifting on game days, but it's something that I really, really like, and I feel it's super effective.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. And in the NBA, the schedule that we have is necessary, because if we don't load the guys the game days a little bit, or after the game, we also lift after the game with some guys. We don't have time, So it's like, for example, here in the bubble, when you play every other day, and when are you gonna really have a good lift with the guys? And a lot of times it's that window is after the game, right after the game. So that helps us a lot with our program, lifting the guys either before or after, so.
For example, when you're traveling, how do you make sure that your guys keep lifting? I mean, you use the facility of the other team, or you try to look for another gym?
So, in the normal regular situation in the NBA, we do have hotels that we stay at. They have fair gyms, they have like pretty good gyms right now. and we lift the guys in the morning. Like usually we have a shoot around, for example. We have the younger guys. We have all the guys come in the morning before shoot around. They lift in the morning. And then we have another group before the game. When we get there, we carry our bag with some bands and some equipment to help us out. Some arenas, they have a weight room. Some arenas don't. And depending on the arena, we lift the guys before the game there. And then after the game, we also have another group to have a different routine as well. So game day could be like we have a 3 window that you can lift either in the morning or before the game or after.
Can you walk us through a typical game day lift?
A game day lift before the game is just going to be more activation. You know, it's going to be single leg stuff. It's going to be like the TKEs. It's going to be the RDLs. It's going to be something that we believe in, but very light load, very just like focus on getting ready for the game. The goal is not trying to get you tired. The goal is trying to activate your body, you know. So we have a mobility routine that they start with, 2 or 3 exercises, and then they come in, they do 1 or 2 sets of literally just like push, pull, hinge, and that's pretty much what they do. It's nothing too crazy, but I wanted the guys to leave that whatever 15 minutes that they have feeling good.
Yeah,
Some auxiliary stuff as well.
Simple but effective. Great,
Yeah.
I like it. I know you guys are big with technology. How do you leverage technology in your training?
I mean, we try to use. I've been doing the force plate for a little bit now. It's cool to see the numbers. The thing with force plate is hard to get consistent results. Not results, consistent
Data.
testing, consistent data. I mean, we have a GPS system. We have all different things that we look at it just to help the guys, just to help the guys load pretty much. Which it's been helpful. It's cool to see that's like, hey, this guy's going to be tired today. And it kind of matches, 90% of the times matches how the guys feel. So it does help us, the meetings that we have with our staff, should know who is fresh and who it's not, or who should be fresh and who should be not, who should. So we implement different things just to get one number, just to get one color in our color code scheme of how the guy's supposed to feel in that day.
And how do you guys communicate all this data with the coaching staff? I mean, do you communicate on a daily basis, on a weekly basis? I don't know.
Daily basis. I mean, there's an email sent in the morning. We have a person responsible for the sports science, and he sends an email in the morning to the coaches, and it's we're still young with the data, to be honest, in our organization, where coach look at it and makes his own decisions, but it's not mentioned. It's not followed like step by step what the data really says. You know what I mean?
And do you also use technology when it comes to evaluating a player during his, if you want to call it, recruitment?
For the draft?
Yeah, for the draft, for example, or let's say, I don't know, you have a player that has been drafted but is playing in Europe, okay, and you still want to evaluate him somehow. Which data do you collect?
Everything is done in the combine. We get all the data from the combine, so they have questionnaires there with like psychologist questionnaire, doctor's questionnaire. I mean, all the testing data that we get, the combine as well. But I mean, I feel like in the NBA, the guy is drafted way before he's already drafted. He's drafted at the moment, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So it's like if we bring somebody in for a workout, they can have a great workout or they can have an okay workout. We already have our mindset and who to draft. Little things are going to happen until the draft that could change our minds. But like if we know like we're gonna draft player A, it's gonna be the person, like the guy that we're gonna draft. You know, like I said, 90% of the time that happens. Little things here and there, medical, or because I mean those guys get scouted since they're like in high school, prep school. So.
Sure. And when you guys have an European player, for example, and I know that during summer, of course, most of them come back here to Europe, and maybe you want to follow what he's doing during the summer. Do you get in contact with their guys, with the strength coach that they're working with?
Yeah, I usually try to call the guy, the strength coach, and kind of putting them in the same program. But it's a chance to like, hey, here's what we work with the player. As long as he's doing, this type of movements or this type of workouts 2 or 3 times a week. Anything, if you want to include anything, please do so. That's kind of like how I learned it works well with different strength coaches, because they want the opportunity to train the NBA player. But as long as they keep in touch, as long as we collaborate on what they're doing, I'm happy with that.
Okay, I got it. All right, guys, we have covered a lot of great topics, and usually we finish off with 3 rapid-fire questions for both of you. The first one book you would recommend to all our listeners.
12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson.
Sports Gene is one that I really like. I always go back to Sports Gene. I would recommend that.
Number 2, your favorite exercise in the weight room?
I'd say deadlifts.
Sprinting.
All right. Number 3, the first thing you will eat once you will be out of the bubble.
Chipotle.
Yeah, Chipotle.
Chipotle. That's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate you. And where our listeners can find you?
FC Strength, baby. FC Strength on Instagram or YouTube channel. FC Strength. And we're on Spotify too. So and then of course we have each our personal Instagram accounts too. So Claus Antunes and
Felipe Eichenberger.
Yeah, guys, make sure to check out their podcast. Is big time. All right, guys. Thanks again. Have a great day.
Roberto, thank you.
All right.